Right, we are live, everybody. Here we go. Hi, everybody. I am Dom. That over there is Kitty. Hi, Kitty.
Hey, how's it going?
You know, Kitty, you know what I wish we were talking about tonight?
No, tell me.
I wish we were talking about the fact that the Pope said today that he has no plans to ordain women as ministers in the Catholic Church.
But see, that's that's different because, if it was going to be like never ever ever, it's no plans means, it's not top of mind right now,
Hey,
but
you and I, we could have. He also said that LGBTQ people are not bad people, but that
huh.
the church will continue to teach that homosexuality is a sin. I wish we were talking about that tonight. That's a great stream topic to discuss. And I think
It
you and I
really
can do a
is.
great job. I
Absolutely.
think we have
I was raised Catholic, and the whole reason I left Catholicism was because queer person, you
right.
know? So,
We could get
great
a couple
topic.
of we know some amazing gay people that would come on. I would shut the
And
fuck up
trans
for about
people.
2 hours, and trans people, and you guys would just talk about it.
It would have been delightful
Delightful.
and low stakes because ultimately, religion's kind of dying anyway. So if they don't like modernize somehow, like no religious affiliation, atheists, agnostics, and nuns are like not the nuns in the habits, but the nuns like NONES
Right.
are the
Yes.
largest growing like religious beliefs of just not
Yes.
having any. So like
Right.
modernizing churches are having to, and that would have been a delightful like
A
low
delightful.
low stakes conversation where we could just like crack some jokes, and just it would be wonderful. I wish that's
Wonderful.
what we were talking about.
Instead, I have to tell you a story. I'm sorry. When I was a kid, in 10th grade, I took a journalism class because I needed an elective. And my aunt at the time was a writer at the Tampa Tribune. And I used to read a lot of Dave Barry. And so I took a journalism class. Why not? And my dad, to inspire me, bought me a Hunter S. Thompson book. And I kind of fell in love with Hunter S. Thompson that year.
That
And then I
tracks.
found out that there was a movie starring one of my favorite movie stars about Hunter S. Thompson's life. And I probably watched that movie 100 times that summer or winter, whenever, that first semester.
I mean, we don't get winter in Florida. Like, let's be real.
Right, right. Um, and I was thinking earlier, if Hunter S. Thompson were still alive, he has left us, unfortunately, what would he tweet tonight? And I think what he would tweet is what I titled this stream, which is "Fuck the Government." If Hunter S. Thompson were alive today, I think that Fear and Loathing, yes. I think that he would tweet tonight, "Fuck the government." I want to talk about free speech. I want to talk about literally the First Amendment. I want to talk about how it's been bastardized by bastards and what has. All right, I'm going to tell you another story. Now, listen, I love early colonial American history. I love it. I don't really like all of the people in it. So when I talk about the people in it, it doesn't mean that I'm saying they're great people. It's just they were the people alive at the time, okay? So please don't. I know what a horrible person Thomas Jefferson was and George Washington was. George Washington had a manservant. I know all of it, okay? I'm well aware. He had a manservant named Billy, and he and Billy were great horse riders, and he also wrote about like beating Billy. Like I know, all right? I'm not getting into all that tonight because we don't have time for all the caveats. Okay, I know what horrible people they were. I know that they were slavers. We're not getting into all that tonight because we don't have time. So we set all that aside. We're aware that they're horrible people when we talk about them tonight. The Sons of Liberty are the reason that we ended up with a constitution. And the Sons of Liberty were a lot of young, progressive for the time men, though there were women associated, that were sick of being ruled by a tyrant that lived across the ocean. A lot of it was economic tyranny, but not all of it was. The Sons of Liberty had a flag, and it was, if you take the red and white stripes of the American flag and you turn them the other direction, that was the Sons of Liberty's flag, and they would hang it on a tree outside of wherever they were having their meetings. And they'd have a lot of them in Boston at different bars and taverns. Guess what else they did? And that flag was banned by the British because the British found out that the Sons of Liberty were meeting and talking about how all of their grievances. And the British said, you're not allowed to talk about your grievances about the king. If you don't like something the king did, tough shit. You're not allowed to talk about the king. You're not allowed to criticize the king. He's the king. He is God himself gave you a king and you want to criticize him? Are you insane? No, you can't do that. And so they banned the flag. And so they turned the flag the horizontal way. And that's why the stripes on our flag today are horizontal. All of that, I'm consolidating about 2 decades into a couple of sentences, by the way. But this, anyway. So when the men that signed the Declaration of Independence were really the second and even third generation of the Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty were around for a long time before there was actually a revolution and then a new government. And in fact, later on in life, I was reading this letter last night between Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, where Jefferson said, basically, when revolution is fomented, you have to understand that the men, these are his words, not mine, that the men who start the revolution rarely ever see its successes because it's usually a couple of generations of revolution that result in fundamental societal change. And Adams wrote him back and said, well, I don't know that that's necessarily true. You know, I can think of times in history when change happened very quickly. So it was this debate back and forth between them about revolution. But that's how it was here in the Americas. I mean, the Sons of Liberty really originated in like the 1740s or so. And, you know, the revolution is in 1776. So late 1740s, early 1750s is when a lot of it started to really come to a head. But when these men signed the Declaration of Independence, and later on, most of them were associated with the Constitutional Congress that set up the Constitution in the 1790s, the reason that they listed the First Amendment first was because they knew that was the most important thing they had, was the ability to criticize the government and say, what you are doing, government, is wrong. You're not allowed to do that to me. I say, fuck you. You can't do that to me. That was fundamental. If they couldn't, the British were trying everything they could to stop them from doing that. They banned their flags. They banned their meetings. They had to change the name of the organization multiple times. They had to change who their treasurer was, who was keeping their money, because the British kept arresting their treasurers who had their money so that they could organize and get things going. And so they said the most important thing you have in a free society is your ability to criticize the government. What the First Amendment doesn't say is that you can go around calling people slurs and dehumanizing things and not suffer repercussions. And Franklin himself wrote a lot about that. Even before the Declaration and the war and everything, he would write about the fact that it wasn't important for you to be able to hurt your fellow man with your speech. That is not an important right. What's important is that you can tell the king no. You can tell a tyrant, fuck you, I'm out. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. That is the essence of the First Amendment. And what these assholes have turned the First Amendment into over the past couple of years is that, oh, I can call you a slur at work, or I can sexually harass you, I guess. Harass isn't really the right word, but with my speech, and I won't suffer repercussions. They've somehow morphed that into the First Amendment, which isn't what the First Amendment is about. That's not protected speech. You're not protected if you say that that white people have, on average, higher IQs than people of other national origins, or if you say that the only reason that a black woman judge is on the Supreme Court is because she's taking the slot of a white person. Or if you say that gay people deserve to be stoned to death. Those aren't free speech issues. The government is not associated with any of those. Those are just your really shitty, bigoted, asshole-ish, piece of shit opinions. And you're a fucking asshole if those are the opinions that you have. Now, that does not mean that something bad should happen to you. No one ever, anywhere, should be under the threat of violence. Ever. Doesn't matter what they say or what they do. No one anywhere deserves violence. Ever. However, there are cases where it can be argued that speech can be violent or lead to violence.
Yeah.
And can cause divisiveness and violence. Now, I'm almost done and Kitty gets to talk soon. I know you're all very relieved. The government deciding what media you're allowed to consume because it serves the public interest. I have a whole bunch of stuff on the public interest in a few moments. We're going to look at some stuff. Kitty's going to talk. Then we're going to is the kind of tyranny that the Sons of Liberty suffered under for a century-ish, depending on the colony and everything, that when they started their new government said, this can't happen again. And Brendan Carr, whatever the fuck his name is, wants to bring it back. Which we're going to see all his tweets in just a minute. We're going to go over all of that. So, what I am here to do tonight is I am here to channel. I am a medium. I am seancing. If you could do your hands like this, please. This brings the spirits in. Please, I'm
sending my witchy powers. I'm sending my witchy powers to you.
Right now, we need to bring in the spirits. I'm just kidding. You look ridiculous. But I am channeling for you the spirit, the ghost of Hunter S. Thompson past, to tell to you with his voice through my body, fuck the government. Kitty, the floor is yours.
So, yeah, no, spot on. I appreciate, what you said. My issue with this is, they went after Kimmel for something that was innocuous. Like what he said, he didn't actually say anything wrong. He didn't actually mock the death of Charlie Kirk. I mean, he mocked Trump's lack of empathy and lack of concern
let me
over.
Be clear. Real quick, let me be clear. Do not fucking mock his death in my chat. if you mock his death in my chat, you will be banned. I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't care if you're one of my mods. Do not ever mock anyone's death in my chat. You can say, I'm glad that someone is gone from this earth because they were dead. Sure, but do not mock anyone's death in my chat ever. That's been a rule forever and ever and ever. So this isn't I don't want people coming in here and think they can, in my comments and in my chat, do things that I have never allowed on this channel before.
Yeah,
Because
there's
it's
a
somebody
big
that you,
difference. There's a big difference between saying, "I am not going to expend any emotional, empathy or any emotional," like, you could say, "I don't care." You can say,
sure,
"I don't feel
sure.
anything." Like,
Yeah.
he caused a lot of harm to a lot of people. He was not a good
Right.
person, and we should not lionize him in death.
Nope.
Dying to
Of
an
course not.
assassin does not, undo the harm you did in life, like, full stop.
Nope.
So you
Nope.
can have a conversation and you can talk about what's happened, but people are getting fired for just quoting his words, not even adding, like,
Yeah.
context. You have Hegseth trying to go through and service members that, said, "Hey, like, this wasn't a good guy. Like, I'm
He
sorry
wasn't
he
a good
got
guy.
killed, but,
He
like,
wasn't a
he was
good
not a
guy.
good guy."
No, if you want to
And
say he wasn't a good guy or anything, that's fine. But do not mock his death. That
yeah,
will. Anyway, I'm sorry, kid. I just needed to say
no,
that.
no, no. You're totally fine. It's totally understandable. Like, again, like, you can be tactful and you can say, "Look, I'm not sad that he's gone," because I'm not personally. Like, I I mean, it is what it is. But when it comes down to it, you have them going after Kimmel, who he did not mock Charlie Kirk's death. He mocked the lack of empathy from Trump, who, when a reporter asked, "Hey, how are you holding up now that your friend was just killed?" And he's like, "I'm good. You see those trucks over there? They're building this ballroom." And it's like he didn't. And Kimmel's like, That's not how someone mourns a friend. That's how a toddler mourns a goldfish." Like, that was the joke. He was mocking Trump, which Trump mocking is fair fucking game. Like, we do plenty of that. Like, Kenkel's
Yep.
McTaco Tits is fair game for
Yep.
getting mocked.
And we're
But
not stopping either. So anyway, go on.
because, like, satire and mocking fascists is one of the best ways to fight back, which is another reason why the First Amendment is even more important than, say, even because, like, we can get into an argument.
Sorry. That needed applause. I'm sorry. It's done. I'm sorry.
We can get into an argument about whether or not the Second Amendment will actually protect you from government tyranny. Like, that's an argument we could have, and we could do that, on another stream. But the First Amendment is first because being able to redress your grievances, being able to actually speak out is the most important. And when you do have authoritarians, they are usually wannabe strong men that are actually really weak. And that's why satire and comedy, they go for the comics first.
Yep.
Putin did the same thing, Bassem Youssef, like, is
Yep.
living in exile because of it. It's because the comics have a way of really, like, dressing these people down. So, like, it was a comic making a joke, not a news reporter saying, "Here's exactly what happened." He wasn't presenting facts, like, because he made an offhand comment of, they're trying to point fingers when it was one of their own. He came from a MAGA family, regardless of what his views are. Like, it was innocuous what he said. But
Sure.
they are going after Kimmel, yet Brian Kilmeade straight up said that unhoused people should be given involuntary lethal injections and should be killed. And yet there was and right after that there was a mass shooting at a homeless encampment, and two people were found lynched, one of them being a homeless person, in Mississippi
Yep.
after Kilmeade's. That, like, Kilmeade just said, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that," and that was it. They brushed past it. His was more of an incitement to violence and would not be covered under First Amendment regardless, whereas
Nope.
Kimmel is doing his job as a comedian of punching up and basically just, shit talking at the president. He didn't mock the death. He mocked Trump's reaction to the death and MAGA's reaction to everything. Like,
Yep.
he did not denigrate the memory of Kirk. He didn't even talk about Kirk really, other than just to say, yeah, he was killed, and MAGA's losing their shit over it, and Trump doesn't give a fuck. That was all he said about Kirk. The rest was talking about MAGA trying to point fingers and push a narrative that it was not one of their own or someone who came from their own, even if he may or may not have been MAGA. He came from a MAGA family. His grandmother said they don't know any Democrats. And so that's all happening. Kimmel gets sacked because the FCC commissioner basically put his thumb on the
I've got
scale
his
and
tweet here in a second. We're going to look at it.
yeah. So, like, you got the FCC commissioner making, like, veiled threats, for this, yet Kilmeade had nothing happen to him, and people were injured. People died. Like, 2 people were lynched, one of them being an unhoused person, and that happened after Kilmeade's we should just involuntarily lethal injection, homeless people, kill them all.
I did that wrong. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, I just wanted to put this up while you were talking. Nope, that's the wrong one. Well, where the hell is it? Oh, it's at the end? Okay. Well, that's confusing. All right. Here's what Brendan Carr said yesterday on Twitter. Broadcast TV stations have always been required by their licenses to operate in the public interest. We're going to come back to that. That includes serving the needs of their local communities. And broadcasters have long retained the right to not air national programs that they believe are inconsistent with the public interest, including their local community's values. I'm glad to see that many broadcasters are responding to their viewers as intended. Well, that sounds very reasonable. Don't you think that sounds very reasonable, Kitty? Isn't that a reasonable thing to say? Hey, these local broadcasters, if they have a public interest not to air something, they should have the right not to. There's a logic to that, don't you agree?
I suppose theoretically,
Do you know
but
who disagrees? Do you know who disagrees with that take?
Who?
Brendan Carr from 2019, who said, should the government censor speech it doesn't like? Of course not. The FCC does not have a roving mandate to police speech in the name of the public interest.
Yeah, that tracks. I would have thought that would have been in 2020 when they were trying to stop COVID misinfo.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Wait. No, I'm sorry. Brendan Carr said broadcasters have long retained the right not to air national programs they believe are inconsistent with the public interest. I'm sorry. Brendan Carr did say that. I apologize. What Brendan Carr said, I'm sorry, guys, I got that messed up. I'm so sorry. What Brendan Carr said was that the FCC does not have a roving mandate to police speech in the name of the public. What? Wait. Kitty, is that the same guy?
Yeah, it seems to be.
What? The same guy? Said both things? I'm shocked.
Shocked and chagrined.
Here's my shocked face. Kitty, what was the title of tonight's stream?
Fuck the government?
Fuck the government. That's right. So in case you have been under a rock, here's what's going on now. Just before we went on the air, Disney executives are going to meet with Kimmel and assess the show's future. This is 6:03 p.m. Eastern. We went on at 8, so just before we went on the air. Apparently, they want Kimmel to apologize. Now, what Kitty did was give you a rundown of what Kimmel said, and I have no idea who the fuck he would be apologizing. Who is to apologize to? Who? To Trump?
No. They want him to apologize to Charlie Kirk and to make a donation to his family and Turning Points.
By the way, it's also come out that Kimmel's like, I'm not doing that. No.
Oh, and Ben Meiselas from the Midas Touch actually offered Kimmel a job working for Midas Touch.
Of course he did.
Hey, we are all for free speech. We'll let you say whatever the fuck you want.
We're going to get to that in a minute. We're going to get there. I want to go through some comments. Zalrock says, this guy's a fascist who's saying it in bad faith, isn't he? Zalrock, you know?
Yeah, because that same person that is trying to police a joke on late night television, which, The whole thing, like with the FCC, it is one thing if you have someone deliberately pushing like misinformation. Like there used to be, actual rules that like news could not broadcast things
Sure.
that were not actually factually backed up.
Of
And
course.
when that went away, Fox doubled down on its propagandizing. And that's why you have so many people with Fox News brain rot. And so they're spreading like disinformation and misinformation, but they will never lose their broadcast license and will be allowed to continue doing that. But a late night comic makes an offhand joke, where he didn't even joke about Kirk's death. He joked about the reaction to Kirk's death from Trump. Like that was
Specifically,
the joke.
Trump's reaction, non-reaction, where he started talking about his ballroom. Like,
Yeah.
also the poster, which I forgot to get. I was gonna show it to you, but the poster for Kirk's memorial on Friday, I don't know when it is, whatever, has been posted. Nowhere on it is a picture of Charlie Kirk. There's a big picture of Trump. There's a big picture of JD Vance, and there's a big picture of Kirk's wife, but his face isn't even on it.
Oh, actually, that brings up another point. The right wingers, the same
Hmm?
ones that were like, we should not be forcing bakeries to make cakes for gay weddings, went
Hmm.
and had an absolute shit fit because somebody wanted to have Charlie Kirk posters made for a memorial they're having, and the business is like, no, we don't want to do anything political. Like, we don't want to make
Right.
this. We're not going to do it. So they made it a national news story by whinging and bitching about how dare they, when it's like, bro, you guys are the ones that want to be able to discriminate against people for
Well, they
your
can go fuck
sincerely
off.
held beliefs.
Maya says, funny how every right-wing comedy channel, I mean news, called for the elimination of the entire left, and the FTC had no problem with that. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Um, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into this because it's been almost 30 minutes. So here's the thing that we all have to understand here, okay? Let's say they get away with this. Let's say that what happened, in case you don't know, Sinclair, uh, it's their branch of Sinclair, News something, I don't remember what it's called, basically said they were not going to air Jimmy Kimmel anymore. And the Disney executives got together and like, okay, well, we'll just pull him off the air indefinitely. That's what happened. So this is not just about their license. Brendan Carr's trying to make it about their license. Like, oh, well, you're going to lose your license if you put things out there that don't serve the public interest. But what it was this giant company that owns all these little tiny stations all over the country that said, we're just not going to air it. We're not going to air Jimmy Kimmel Live anymore. Which they have every right to do, sure. So this was not something where, Trump wrote an executive order that said Jimmy Kimmel has to go off the air and Disney canceled him. Now the Trump administration officials were pressuring all of this to happen, but it wasn't like an order from on high. We're not at that place yet. We're very
There's
fucking
another
close.
there's another element as well.
Sure.
They are about to have a giant merger with their
Right.
biggest competitor, which would
Right.
basically make it so that they own almost all of the small news broadcasting, and it's almost like a monopoly. Like, if not quite, it's close. It's some like
It's very
70
close.
plus percent of like the local broadcast, because like Sinclair is one of them, but I forget the name, but yeah, no, the parent company uh wants to essentially merge with another companies, and the FCC has to approve the merger.
Right.
So this was as much about appeasement as it was like obsequious suck up. It's like, oh, see, we
Right.
did this thing that you wanted done, so now approve our merger so it can be more of a monopoly.
So the reason that I want to bring that up is here's what you need to listen. I need you to listen and understand something. Because what everybody is saying is, oh, well, Jimmy can go on, Jimmy has 20 million YouTube subscribers. He can go on Midas, there's lots of different places he can go online. Well, do you fucking think if they get away with this, they aren't next going to go to Google and start getting YouTube channels canceled and go to Amazon and start getting Twitch streamers removed? I mean, guys,
They're already
this
doing it,
isn't,
or they're already starting.
they're trying to. This isn't a place where the plan right now is, well, where else can we go? The plan right now is fuck you. No. That's the plan. The plan is no. The plan is stop.
Yeah.
So before we get into this real quick, hold on. I want to bring up this Thomas Paine quote. Hold on. I'm clicking the wrong button here. Okay. This is one of my favoritist quotes by Thomas Paine. He that would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression. For if he violates this duty, he establishes a precedent that will reach to himself. When you allow people in your society to be oppressed, what it teaches the powerful is that they can oppress people, and you will eventually be on their list.
Well,
even if it makes you, MAGA's so happy. Oh, I'm so happy that Jimmy Kimmel's getting canceled, and this is getting canceled, and that's getting canceled. All that does is tighten the rope, which means the powerful are going to start searching for new people to cancel. And eventually it's going to be fucking you.
Well, yeah. I mean, that it goes back to the First They Came poem by Martin Niemöller.
Yes.
First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. The fact of the matter is you can add everybody else to that list. Like, that's just a condensed version. Women, queer, trans, like disabled people. It doesn't matter. Like,
sure.
People of color. The fact is like fascists ultimately, like, in order for it to work, they have to have an out group and an in group. And as it goes along, that in group gets smaller and smaller as they start cannibalizing each other and pushing people out. It's like when they were trying to oppress brown people in the United States, that's when the Italians and the Irish, who were not considered white, or the Ashkenazi Jews, they were not considered white, until it was, well, we can include them in the white people because they look, white like us,
right.
waspy Anglo-Saxon Protestants, like they're white enough so they can be with us. And then, they now no longer being at the bottom of the totem pole and being included in the in group, then it made it easier to push down on, the out group. But
right.
I guarantee, like, if FDR hadn't come along and fixed things in the country, at least at the time, with the New Deal, we would have fallen apart, and you would have seen that group of the Italians and the Irish fracturing off, and you wouldn't have had that in group anymore where they were included in the white majority. It would have been fractured, and then it would have been everybody against everybody else, because at that point, when people are starving, it very much, your in group becomes much, much smaller, because you're focused on your immediate survival.
And I'm glad you brought this up, Zarog, because this is where I was going to go next. Because Trump yesterday signed an executive order that declared Antifa a domestic terror group. Number one, the United States does not have what's called a DOMTER law, DOMTERR. In other words, there is no framework within our laws or our law enforcement structure to designate domestic organizations as terrorist groups. That's number one. Number two, the only way that could happen would be through Congress and a constitutional amendment. Because SCOTUS has ruled it doesn't exist, that there's no way to do that. That's why a lot of these organizations that you would think might be never were, because there's no infrastructure to do it. And so Trump is just signing a piece of paper saying, oh, well, they are now. Okay? That's number one. Number two, who the fuck, Antifa is an idea. Antifa means anti-fascist. It just means that, hey, I'm not fascist, and I oppose fascism. That's all Antifa means. And there's no leader. It's not like there's Antifa offices in downtown New York with some Antifa boss sitting
Like,
behind a desk on the 30th floor.
I mean, like, Black Lives Matter was decentralized, but they at least had a little bit more, like, structure where they would have, like, more, like, groups, whereas where you could
One of my
actually
favorite
point to.
one of my favorite things that I ever saw on Twitter was this person had found out that there was BLM land out west, and they'd posted, they were like, look at this, all this land has been determined BLM land, they own all this land. And somebody's like, you fucking moron, that's the Bureau of Land
Bureau of
Management.
Land Management.
It's just public land. It's not
It's
Black
like
Lives
national
Matter.
parks and shit.
Black Lives Matter doesn't own millions of acres in the Western United States. You idiot. You do. It's public land.
Honestly,
Anyway,
the scariest thing about this, like, is, well, yes, fuck the government, fuck the FCC for trying to put pressure, fuck ABC Disney for
for
complying in
capitulating.
advance and
Right.
capitulating. Fuck anyone who is bending the knee and complying in advance or capitulating. But the scariest thing to me about this is not even coming from, that area. It's the fact that they're trying to turn this into the Reichstag fire. Like, they
Right.
are literally trying to turn Charlie Kirk's death into, like, a spark that ignites a civil war. And, like, him saying, okay, Antifa is domestic terror. Like, who's he gonna label as Antifa? All the left?
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm
and that's
trying
the
to
thing.
say.
They're literally going and they're trying to say all these leftists, and it's like, so
Yes.
Democrats are gonna be terrorists now just for
Literally
being a
that no,
registered
but
Democrat.
yes, that's my point. That's my point. That's what I'm saying with the Thomas Paine quote is all Trump has to do now, if SCOTUS backs him up, which are they going to? Who fucking knows? If SCOTUS backs him up and this is actually a thing, you could he could just declare anyone as a terrorist. Do you think he cares? They've been bombing fishing boats in the middle of international waters claiming that they're drug runners, and they've killed like 20 people in the last week. They just blew them up. There's no due process. There's no proof. The Trump's proof was, well, if you look at the video, which is grainy, low res video, you look at the video, you can see bags, and those bags obviously have drugs. What else could be in bags? That's where people keep drugs. So obviously they deserve to all be executed by the United States military. So what Kitty said about the eventual um uh, uh constriction of fascism as it eats more and more of its own and it gets smaller and smaller, and the accepted are tinier and tinier and everyone else is an other, paired with Trump just declaring that Antifa exists and is this terrorist group. Do you honestly think, okay, so let's say that all of this happens. Let's fast forward 5 years and your neighbor gets mad at you for something, calls the police and says that they found out that you were Antifa, and now they're showing up at your door, MAGA, and arresting you and your family. That is the event, that is where this is headed. That is how it works in fascist countries. That's why the Nazis, like if you were in the Nazi party, you had to wear like different badging and stuff on yourself all the time to identify yourself, because anyone could just report that you had done anything. If there's a great scene in the Schindler's List, and the entire movie is great, but at one point he's dancing with a Jewish girl and he kisses her. Do you remember this scene, Kitty?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since
And
I watched that movie, but yeah.
sure, it's a hard one to watch. I don't watch it very often. It's fantastic, but it's just hard to watch. And he is called into the office of one of the party superiors to him, who's like, "Did you kiss a Jewish girl?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, we were dancing and stuff, and I kissed her. Like, what's the big deal?" And he's like, "Well, it's against the law. It's against the law for you to kiss a Jewish girl. Do you realize that you broke the law at a party in front of a bunch of people?" That's the eventuality. That's the kind of when we talk about fascism, that's the kind of society they like to have. They like to have a society with lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of rules that when they are broken, there are very severe consequences. Because what fascists love is someone to punish, because then there's always an other. And there's always a justification for the hard life you live under fascism. Because the life you live under fascism is never, it's nice and pretty and great if you're one of the rich people at the top. But for most people, it's very, very hard. And so you have to constantly remind the populace that, hey, there's an other out to kill you. And you persevering through this hard life you have in fascism is worth it, because the other can't get you. And the other is all around you all the time. And the only thing keeping you safe is this government that is protecting you from other. It's making sure that kids in libraries aren't read books that could turn them gay. It's protecting you from the kind of criticism that could be lobbied at our great dear leader who brought us the fascist government that prevents people speaking Spanish at Publix. Whatever the most inane, stupid shit that you can think of will be laws that will be punished very severely so that you can become an other at a moment's notice.
Well, and that's the
That's what
thing.
fascism is, and that's the society they're trying to create.
For the longest time, the right has said, "Oh, this is Orwellian, that is Orwellian." Like, this is legitimately Orwellian, like what we're
Yes,
dealing with now of, where if we do get to the point where it's like, oh, you have a dispute with your neighbor, so your neighbor calls in and says, oh, I saw them with an Antifa flag. And so it literally would be like,
sure.
the Salem witch hunts. There weren't actual witches. There were people that were having like land disputes, or it was a widow that, inherited land from her dead husband. And some other guy's like, hey, I kind of like that piece of land. And I mean, she's just some crazy old bat anyway. So I'm just going to accuse her of witchcraft, and then I can, buy it up on the cheap because, she shouldn't have it
Sure.
anyway because she's a woman. So, and having the other, and like the moment of rage, and like war is peace, and it's like, I'm a peacetime president, and
Right.
I'm anti-war and I'm pro free speech, when he's literally doing the opposite, when he's
Right.
extrajudicially killing people, when he's black bagging people, whether or not they're immigrants or not. There have been people that were American citizens, service members, that have been black bagged and brought to ICE detention
Yep.
facilities. There have
They
been
arrested a
people that
bunch of
have
lawmakers today.
visas.
Right. They arrested a bunch of lawmakers today who just wanted to get inside the facility.
I mean, case in point, like, look at the Hyundai battery factory. Like, all 500 South Korean people that were arrested, and they were put in like chains, ankle, waist, and wrists. They were all here on work visas because Hyundai
Yep.
was like, you know what? We're going to invest in the United States, so our people know how to set up this factory to produce these batteries. We're going to build it in Georgia, I think it was, and we'll send our people in on temporary 2-month visas. They'll get everything up and running, and then we'll train your people, and then you take it from there, and then they'll go. So they were only here temporarily, legally. And I don't know that Trump actually sent people in there. I'm pretty sure it was Stephen Miller that just said, no, let's get these Asians out of here. But
Yeah.
the fact is that is, not only is it fucked up because they were here legally, and they were treated horribly, spending a week in a fucking concentration camp, but the fact is it is going to make it so that other countries are not going to want to invest in the United States because they were here legally, while
Sure.
South Korea and Hyundai were making an investment in the country. And
Right.
by having legal, citizens of another country being mistreated like that, an ally country, to the United States, absolutely shits on our standing in the world and how like countries are going to want to deal with us, how foreign corporations are going to want to deal with us. I mean, Trump's lying about saying he's bringing in 17 trillion dollars. It's like, yeah, a third of our GDP, like, you know, or
Yeah,
whatever the fuck it is. Like, he's brought that in 8 months. No, he fucking hasn't. But the fact of
yeah.
the matter is we're not going to get any investment in this country from foreign countries and foreign businesses if he allows the fucking ghoul shadow president Stephen Miller to fucking go through and do this kind of heinous shit.
Exactly. And what you have to understand is that when Miller sees money from a foreign country, that disgusts him. He doesn't want money from foreign countries here. Stephen Miller is an anti globalist isolationist. In his perfect world, everyone who's not white would be out, and everyone who's not a firebrand conservative Republican would be out of the country. And the borders would be closed, and we wouldn't trade with anyone, and no one would come in and out, and we would just be this magical land of nothing but white people. Okay. Miller has done, he either just doesn't understand economics or he just truly believes that white people are so strong and so powerful that if this country was nothing but white folks,
They'd go Super
we would,
Saiyan.
sure. I honestly, because the way that he behaves is, it's just nonsense. It's literal
It's
nonsense.
magical
To,
thinking. Absolute magical thinking.
it has to be. Zarok, it wouldn't just not grow the economy. You would have famine. You would have death. You would, the, there's not
California
enough.
would probably be okay. Like, but the rest of the country wouldn't.
No, I'm talking about if you took out everyone except for firebrand conservatives
Oh,
everywhere
oh
in the
yeah, yeah,
nation,
yeah.
you would have, it wouldn't succeed at all.
No.
Everyone would just
Because
die. And
you really think that some fucking pot-bellied Republican that wants to sit, you know, on their couch watching Fox News is gonna wanna go out in the fields to pick, like, to harvest crops? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Like, it
yeah,
was what was it, North, South Carolina, where they passed a anti-immigration, bill, and a lot of the immigrants said, "Nope, fuck it, we're out," and so the farmers, like, they had to pay like super high rates and they couldn't get people to stay for more than a day or two to harvest the crops.
yeah, I think it
And
was
they're
South
like, yeah,
Carolina. Yeah,
we can't find anybody that will do this work. Like, we're offering 30, $40 an hour to pick crops and they won't make it through a day or two
right.
days. And it's like, we can't do this. Like, the crops are rotting in the fields.
And Zarok, that was where I was going to go with it. I'm glad you brought that up. What white folks are going to be okay? Obviously, this is eugenics. Now, the Nazis had the same issue because the Nazis, they like set up all these things. They're like, okay, it's got to be blue hair or blue hair. Oh my God. It's got to be blonde hair. It's got to be blue eyes. And your chin has to be the certain width and your eyes have to be set. Like they had all of this stuff at the beginning. And then what they found was that a lot of the guys that set up all these parameters didn't fit the parameters. And so they had to like change a bunch of the parameters. We're like, hey, well, like maybe if your nose is this big, it's okay. As long as your nose isn't this big and your eyes are brown, that's definitely Jewish. And then they'd be like, no, that doesn't work either. No, because Ben over there, Ben's not Jewish and he's got a nose that size and his eyes are brown. Okay. Well, it's that your chin is this size and your, like, it became so convoluted by the end that then it was hard to find anyone that could fit in them. And that was one of the reasons why Hitler's children, the whole Hitler's children thing, they were literally trying to find women that were natural blondes and blue eyes to breed them, to breed superhumans. And they literally couldn't find enough because they're just, people are diverse. It's just how
Yeah, it was
people
the
are.
Wunderkind, I think, like, they had
Yeah.
breeding facilities for, essentially Aryan women and Aryan men to just shit out
Right.
kids, and they encouraged, because they basically did both kinds of eugenics because there's, positive and negative eugenics. One is where you're
Right.
breeding for specific characteristics. So you take, just like if you were breeding a new species of soybean, or like a dog, like
A
a
horse
Pomeranian,
or
it's like
something. Right.
a horse, whatever. Like, okay, this parent has these traits, this parent has these traits, so we're going to try to positively breed for these. And then there was
Right.
also sterilization of people that had non-wanted traits, so that they
Right.
would basically be pruned from the gene pool.
And then what they found was that they breeded these people together, and that sometimes their children would still come out with like brown eyes, or they would still come out with like physical deformities and stuff. And they're like, well, that didn't fucking work. And the truth of the matter is that the beauty of humanity is that we're diverse. That's what's great about us. It's great that we're not the same. It's great that we think differently. Because life would be so boring if we all just thought the same. What would you talk about? You talk about what you ate for lunch? I don't give a fuck what you ate for lunch. I don't care. I don't care what you had for lunch, Betty. I don't care. Stop posting it. Unless it was something really good. Eventually you'll get one, but up until now, it's not been great. Um. Anyway, I don't know who Betty is. I just made a person up. Actually, I had a grandmother named Betty, so maybe that's who I was talking about. She's dead very long time ago, long before Instagram ever came out. Listen, we're gonna get out of here because I'm tired. It's been a long day. I want to finish this up with Franklin because everybody knows that Franklin died last week. He died last Monday. His normal vet does not do euthanasia. So she recommended a vet, someone that she knows, someone that she personally knows, who was willing to come over to the house because Franklin, even in his diminished state, was still about 85 pounds, which is a lot of dog to carry around. He had lost the ability to walk or even stand. So he wasn't getting there himself, which means I'd have had to pick him up and carry him. She came in, she gave him a very thorough examination, and she looked at me dead in the eye and she said, "This is not fixable." And I want to reiterate that if she had said, Franklin, if I didn't bring his food and water over to him, he would have not eaten and drank. He had to stay on pee pads all the time because he couldn't go outside to go to the bathroom. He had an extremely low quality of life. None of me doing that for him was no burden at all. If she had told me that I needed to do it for 6 months while he recovered, I would have happily have done it for 6 months. She confirmed that he was not ever going to get better. Also, for the couple of days before he died, there was a lot of extra saliva and food particles in his water bowl. And she said that meant that he was losing the ability to swallow, which means in
Which is
another week or two,
terrifying.
he would not have been able to, he would have literally starved to death in front of me.
Or with the extra saliva, not able to swallow, he might have drowned in his
He,
own.
he was drooling a lot because he couldn't, and he was just drooling. He was just laying on the ground with his two legs out like this all day long. That's all he did. That's all he could do, was just lay like this, and he was drooling all over himself because he couldn't swallow anymore. So it, we didn't stream last week because I was still very emotional. It's gotten better. I'm going to the Humane Society this week, and I don't know that I'm getting anything new, but I'm going down there to play with the dogs on Saturday, to be around some dogs again, and kitty cats. My cat died 5 years ago, and now first time I haven't had a pet since I was 14, so I'm it's extremely lonely. But I want to just say thank you to everybody on Discord and Blue Sky and Facebook who reached out and offered condolences and said very nice things. I love you guys, and I'm okay now. I'm better. I know that I'm okay.
One day at
But
a time, Dom.
one day at a time. I was notified today that his ashes are ready for me to pick up, so I'm gonna get those on Saturday too. and I have his paw print behind me. If you see behind me, if you see that mortar and pestle right next to it, if you that little item right there, that is his paw print. That is Franklin's paw print. So
Mm.
you guys know that he would always come up and be with me on stream. So I put it so that it would still be, it's in frame behind me. So he's still on stream with me. Whenever I stream, you're still seeing Franklin too. So, but just want to say thank you to you guys. I love you all, and most importantly, fuck the government.
Yeah, abso-fucking-lutely.
So, we're gonna get out of here, and we'll be back next week, next Thursday, 8 p.m. I think that's a good time.
Yeah.
And we'll see
Don't
you guys
obey
then.
in advance. Mock them. Ridicule them. Like, fascists cannot stand to be mocked and ridiculed. That's why they go for the comedians first.
Yep. And remember this: they deserve it.
Oh, absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
guys. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great one.